Democrats say they lost because they were scared of their donors.
I think that they need to change their policies.
It's a policy thing.
Yes, it's 100% a policy thing. Which is the boring answer. Although it would be very self-serving for me to say, I'm the left's Joe Rogan, the Democratic Party should give me millions of dollars. That's not going to solve this problem. What will solve this problem is if the Democratic Party actually adopts real left-wing economic populist messaging instead of purposefully avoiding that stuff because they're terrified of upsetting their corporate donors.
I mean, man, this list of excuses is getting longer than Hillary's infamous scroll of scapegoats after the 2016 election. Democrats are going to have to do a serious autopsy around the Thanksgiving table tomorrow, and they have to figure out what to do with Kamala. Some Democrats never want to see her again. They're begging her to not run in 4 years. They don't even want her to run for governor of California.
Republicans don't make Trump apologize. As Stephanie said, we don't have to mimic it. But I think that there are a lot of times where if you're in the Democratic Party and you step out of line, you get punished for it. Trump is putting these Republicans in the worst possible political, or what would seem to be, and they support it because they're, at the end of the day, they understand that it weakens Trump. And, you know, this may sound like a shot across the bow, but it should be. Democrats are eating our own to a very high degree. And until that stops, we're not going to be able to address a lot of the things that just need to be said.
All right, guys, so we got to react to the CNN panel discussion about why Kamala Harris lost, because there's a whole autopsy operation going on the left to figure out how in the world did Kamala Harris lose to Trump. And there are some Democrats who just are still delusional, right, in their thinking in regards to why Kamala lost, why the Democrats lost. And Kevin O'Leary is going to go off on Kamala Harris and the Democrats making excuses about why Kamala Harris lost, in which he's simply going to lay out the truth about Kamala Harris, which is that she's weak and that she's a loser, right? And this CNN panel is going to get triggered. The host is going to get triggered. They're all going to get triggered after Kevin O'Leary just tells the God honest truth about Kamala Harris and her campaign. It's pretty hilarious. But without further ado, let's get into it.
Her failure to separate from Biden was terrible. His failure to understand his own shortcomings was terrible. I mean, usually
not unusual for a vice president pair, right? Like Al Gore had that problem.
But usually in campaigns, the simplest thing is the true thing. She's just not a very good candidate. She was not a very good candidate when she ran in 20, never made it to 20. She was not a good candidate in this election. And if she tries to run in 28, she won't be a good candidate again.
All right,
presidential campaigns show the limit of your talent.
We're talking about what
that's
happened
unfair.
in
She only had 3 months.
Yeah.
Donald Trump was running for 4 years.
Well, technically like 9.
Right? I mean, he was running constantly. He created his own social media platform, which I thought was brilliant from a political standpoint, because now you've got these people trapped in this loop, and they're hearing the same message over and over again. And then Elon Musk then buys Twitter, and then he uses it the same way. They have Fox then using all of that and then repeating all of that. And so these people are hearing the same message over and over again for 4 years. She had 3 months to combat that. I think she did as well as she could do.
Hold on 1 second. I want to play one more.
Wow, these people are delusional. They really are. They're so out of touch with reality. For whatever reason, they really think that the right essentially owns the media landscape, right? They're completely oblivious to the fact that the left, I mean, just by any objective standard, right? You look at all of the major cable news outlets, you look at all of the social media platforms, they're overwhelmingly left wing, and it's not debatable. They really believe because, oh, well, Joe Rogan has a large podcast, has one of the largest podcasts in the world. Joe Rogan is not right wing, okay? Joe Rogan's not right wing. Fox News is not super right wing. I mean, they're right of center, okay? And okay, you have conservative influencers, okay? Oh, Elon Musk bought X. Elon Musk did not make X a conservative platform. He made X a free speech neutral platform. But see, according to these people, they think that neutrality is inherently a disadvantage to the left, right? This guy is basically trying to make the argument that, well, Kamala got into the race late, and the right-wing media ecosystem is so big and so large that it was just so hard for her to overcome. It's like, no. Kamala Harris had all of the mainstream liberal media on her side. She had all the billionaires, all the rich people on her side. She wasted billions of dollars in ads, okay? She had everything that you could possibly ask for, okay? And also on top of that, she ran for president back in 2019, and she was vice president. So she's not new, right? She didn't just show up out of nowhere. She had a lot of time to prove to the American people that she's competent and that she can do a good job running the country. She just failed at that, right? She failed at that in 2019. She failed at it as vice president, and she failed at it as a Democrat Party nominee this time around. But again, people like this, they just want to make excuses for Kamala Harris and feel like, oh, it's not fair to say that she's just not good, right? No. It is fair. She's had plenty of chances to prove that she's a talented politician. She's just not. That's the reality.
More piece of tape, because this autopsy, so to speak, and when I think about this happening during the post-Mitt Romney period, right, where basically the Republicans were like, this is not working. We need to come up with a new plan. Like, let's make a report. So one of the other ideas comes from Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who was talking about the Harris campaign embracing basically Liz Cheney as a huge misstep. And basically talking about the idea that they lean too hard on this sort of mystery woman Republican who is going to vote against her husband and all this stuff. Gretchen, you're shaking your head.
Look, this is not Liz Cheney's fault, okay? Didn't she face enough scrutiny for being brave and coming out about January 6th? She basically completely ruined her political career by telling the truth. So I don't think that this is Liz Cheney's fault about saying that she was going to vote for Kamala Harris.
Well, I don't think anybody's saying it's Liz Cheney's fault. I think what people are saying is that Kamala Harris was not smart to be running around campaigning with Liz Cheney, who not only is extremely unpopular on the right, but she's also unpopular on the left too. Okay, the base of voters that she was trying to get to come out and to vote for her, right? It's hard to inspire far leftists to come out and to vote for somebody that they despise, okay? I'm just saying, that is the point. But again, these people, I don't understand why they keep getting invited on this panel, because they clearly are just not, they're not in touch with reality. I really don't get it. These people are very unimpressive to me in regards to their ability to actually analyze politics. Like, how do you not understand the obvious point that was being made about Liz Cheney, which is not that anybody's blaming Liz Cheney. They're just saying that it wasn't smart to campaign with Liz Cheney, right? That just wasn't a good move.
I think that Donald Trump got away with not having to explain his policies. The same thing did not happen to Harris. They wanted to know more details. The same thing was that, Donald Trump didn't do interviews with unfriendly resources. Harris said, well, she should have done more interviews. I agree with that.
I mean, he did do a lot of unfriendlies.
And press conferences.
I think so.
And
yeah,
press conferences.
He didn't get
one of the first ones out of the gate was
he did far more press interactions than Harris, like not even
And
close.
I criticized her for that.
Yeah.
I said at the beginning
the root
that she
of
should have
this
done more.
mistake actually came very early on. They didn't run a process. They made an excuse of $317 million in the kitty. They kept the same campaign manager and said, we will anoint this faulted, broken candidate who was inconsequential in her vice presidency, lost in 2019, as you detailed, complete loser in 2020, never could articulate anything, had no compassion for people. And her own advocates, let's not forget this. I remember the minute this happened, I was in Europe. She went on to The View. All those women wanted her to win. They threw her a softball. They threw her a second softball. She was so weak as a candidate, she couldn't even answer that she would do something different. It ricocheted around the world. She was finished.
Well, let me go.
They will never do that again.
I know. Well, let me go back to the campaign, because I don't want to call her broken or a loser. I'm not in that business. But I do want to talk about what the campaign...
No, she is a loser.
That's
Let's
fine
be
for
sure
you
of
to
that.
say, but I will not be name-calling on this show. It's not my vibe.
Did she
I'm not
lose or
bringing
not?
it in.
Did
Here's
she lose?
Clinton folks from the campaign talking about what...
Listen to this clown, so-called journalist, right? Again, these people get so offended on these panels. It really blows my mind how they always go out of their way to try to protect Kamala Harris and to protect Democrats and to protect women from mean words. Like, for example, there was actually another episode of this with Abby Phillip not too long ago where they got upset about a man calling a woman dear. Take a look.
Investigate
Just to be clear, this investigation began under
Donald Trump.
Okay, and all during the bottom line is the DOJ said there's nothing there.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
They said they didn't have enough to indict. That shouldn't be the
No,
standard.
it's a charge, dear.
Okay,
no,
dear.
no, yes, yeah.
Oh, well, thank you for the misogyny. Okay,
hold on. I'm just going to stop it right here because we're not going to get off on a wrong foot. Please do not address a grown woman as dear in a condescending tone. Do not do that at my table. You can continue.
Yeah, and this is why CNN is failing, right? This is why they're failing, okay? Because of stuff like this, okay? You have the so-called journalists. They always do this pearl clutch. You can't call a woman dear at my table. Don't do that. Don't call Kamala Harris a loser. Don't do that, right? Don't make jokes about Muslims, right? This is the type of stuff they do. But it was totally fine and okay to call Trump supporters Nazis or Nazi sympathizers. Trump is Hitler, et cetera, et cetera. But if you call Kamala Harris a loser, oh man, that's a bridge too far, right? You're going too far, okay? But Trump, Hitler, Trump Nazi, okay? Trump fascist, totally fine with CNN. You'll never hear a journalist, propagandist really, pearl clutch over that. And, this is why people don't really watch this network like that. I just watch it because I just like the back and forth. But, I think what Kevin O'Leary said was 100% true. I mean, just simply, she was just weak. That's it. She's weak. She's a loser. Okay. And Democrats made a mistake by nominating her and running her. And, you can have all these conversations that you want about why she lost. But ultimately, it really comes down to her just not being good. Okay. And you can talk about her staff and all the mistakes they made, but she hired that staff, right? She was at the top and she made the decisions. And you can see the disaster that resulted in Kamala Harris being at the top and making the decisions. And you can only imagine if Kamala Harris was at the top of this country making decisions, she probably would have had the same approach as being president of the United States, and that would have been terrible for this country. Everybody knows it. Everybody saw it, and that's why she lost. So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.